Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joy Lives Ray, and I'm here with Joshua Uttech. Is that how you say it, Joshua? Yeah.
Yep.
And he's going to fill us in on what he's been doing since the last time he was with us. Before we start, I want to introduce Luscious Moss Studio information. Chad Christ owns and operates it out of Edgewood, Washington. He started out doing guitarists and drummers and filming and editing their presentations, and he's now moved into more music production. So if you have any needs, you can contact him at Luscious Moss. At, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Anyway, you can contact them either as Chad Christ or Luscious Moss Studio on Facebook. You'll find him there if you have any needs. So he has a very collaborative and creative environment. I do most of my production there. So, Josh, tell me, what have you been doing lately? I mean, I did see you. I did see you at one of Goldie's presentations.
Yeah. Was that last year?
Yeah, I don't know. Has it been that long? Gosh.
No, that was the year before.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think it was at the tail end, like maybe in the fall or winter of 2020.
Something happened. If I remember correctly, you had just had an incident to some kind.
Well, I remember it snowed the day I was at that songwriting. So I believe it was the end of 2023, probably. But yeah, so I've just been working a lot, doing the music gigs, and still working a part-time job, which is where I am right now. I just finished my shift here at one of the Amazon buildings in Seattle. Work part-time as a barista, which was a step down from management a few years ago, almost 2 years ago, because I was turning down music jobs. And so I said, I'm going to try to do this music thing, and then I'll just work part-time. So actually last year I started driving again. I didn't drive for 5 years because I had a DUI and I had wrecked my car. So I just used transit for quite a while. And I was actually doing all my gigs with a bus, train, Uber, with my backpack and my guitar, my little amp, making that work for like 5 years until I got a car last year.
Oh my gosh.
And so last year was the first year in a long time where I was able to drive to gigs, which has been great because it's opened up the opportunity to go further away from home to the gigs. So now I can go to Bellingham, Puyallup, Tacoma, Snoqualmie. I'm in Everett, so it's actually a pretty good centrally located location as far as time-wise to the distance to different gigs. So I'm about an hour from Tacoma, Puyallup. I'm about an hour from Snoqualmie, North Bend, and I'm about an hour from Bellingham.
Yeah.
So it's pretty convenient for me as a musician now to have the options that I can go all these different directions, all these different locations and play music. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me again a little bit about your background in music. I didn't put a bio out this time because we've had you on the show before, but give me a little bit about your background for anybody who might be listening later. Apparently, I don't see anybody alive here, but that doesn't mean they're not because I can't see YouTube.
That's okay. Yeah, I started as just a singer as a kid, and I would just sing along to everything. And I was in choir and stuff like that. But it wasn't until probably high school, choir in middle school and high school, I started getting comments from people like, "Hey, you're good." And I got like solos in choir and stuff like that. And then joined bands in high school and did like the talent shows at high school, stuff like that. And I think we actually won one year. Anywho, so I was always a singer, and I was in bands in high school and after high school. And the band I was in after that was like the end of high school and into like my 20s, broke up when I was about 20, 21. And that's when I started playing guitar. And I'd always wanted to play, but I just didn't. But I seemed to pick it up. I picked it up pretty quick. And then I was able to start writing my own songs, which was kind of a game changer for me because I was always trying to write stuff to other people's music. And that's fine. And I think some people are really good at doing that. I don't know. I always felt like I was never writing something I really liked. Like every once in a while, I might write some little gem that went good with the song. But it wasn't until I started writing my own stuff on the guitar that I think really opened the door for me to really start expressing myself through my own songwriting. And that was, I mean, 20, oh my God, like
Right.
24, 25 years ago. So I spent the last, I don't know, however many 20 plus years. I was in and out of different bands, cover bands here and there, playing some bars here and there, but it was never like serious. I always dreamt of making it serious and making it a job, but I guess I just wasn't as dedicated.
All right.
I was still probably just too immature. Didn't really understand, like, if you really want to make something work, you have to put the work in. And so it was really like I was planning. It was like 2016, 2017. I was really pushed into my own solo thing. I was in a band, but bands are hard to keep together. Anyone who's
Yes.
been in a band, they know that, right? Like,
Right.
keeping everybody on the same page, keeping everybody dedicated on the same kind of dedication level. We all go in the same direction with the music that we like. Our life changes affecting things, and that's kind of what happened with ours. Like, one guy wasn't able to make all the shows that I wanted to do. Another guy got a different job, and so he kind of dropped out of the band. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel in a weird way things just all tend to kind of work themselves out, and I ended up doing my solo thing, and so far so good. I've been doing it full time. I mean, about 3-4 days a week, for almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So far so good.
So far, so good. Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
I see your your schedule, places that you're playing and so forth, and it looks pretty full to me. So
yeah.
that,
I'm trying to keep it. I was overdoing myself the
yeah,
first year, and I burned myself out hard.
yeah,
So I've learned now that, like, 14 to 16 gigs a month is like, that's good. That's
that's a
that's
lot.
plenty.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of gigs.
I try not to take any more than that anymore, because it doesn't give me much time for any time off.
Right.
And I can end up going sometimes 2 weeks at a time without, like, a real day off, where I didn't have a gig, I didn't have some kind of obligation that I had to do.
Right.
So I'm getting better at that, saying no and just scheduling in when I see my schedule's getting full that month, and I'll go, if there's an empty day, you're taking that day off. If there's an empty day, you take that day off. Yeah, so.
Yeah. So I'm having I understand what you're saying. I used to call my band when I had it between 2000 and 2015 a railroad station. I mean, there were people coming in, going out, coming in and
Yeah.
going out all the time.
Yeah.
Luckily, there was a really strong country. There were a lot of strong country performers in the South area. There seems to be some kind of line. This is north, this is south, and you don't cross the line. But yeah, and luckily they knew the music. Luckily, most of these people knew pretty much everything that we were doing and brought their own, and we were able to follow them. But yeah, I get that part. And right now I'm struggling because things have changed with the new technology. I quit due to health in 2015, and technology has just taken off after COVID,
Mhm.
and streaming and so forth, as you know. And the music tools that we use to project our sound are much more sophisticated than they were back
Mhm.
then. I
Mhm.
mean, you used to die because the sound was so horrid. And of course, guys are more bassy and they like more bassy sounds, but females need more treble and more high in their voice in order to
Mhm.
sing the high notes.
Right.
Well, I used to come home and kick the can.
I think it's funny, like, I'm learning to just let it go and, like, deal with it. But if you play a show and the sound isn't good,
Yeah,
whether it's the sound guy or the equipment or whatever it is, and it
right.
can be so frustrating. But, like, I did one there, like, last week, and they were running the sound for me. So a lot of times I'll do my own sound. I bring my
Yeah,
own little amp, and
right.
it's good. Um, but it was just, I could never get their monitor to work. It was never sounding right, so I couldn't hear myself that well.
Yeah. Oh God, that's awful.
And then finally I had to ask the guy, like, how does it sound out there? And he said, it sounds great. I'm like, all right, as long as it sounds good out there, whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Well, I have a little more freedom. You know, I'm not doing gigs. I'm doing jams to keep my skills up because if I
Hmm.
didn't, when I did have a gig, do have a gig, I wouldn't be able to play.
Yeah,
But
I miss going to open mics and jams. I just sometimes now if I get a night off, I I don't want to go out.
yeah, you don't want to do that.
I'm
Yeah,
just running around so much. I'm like when I get a night, I can stay home. I just want. Plus,
right.
I have a really old cat and another one who's getting older as well. So it's and I feel like right now with my old cat, I'm kind of on like bonus years. Like he's turning
Oh,
19. He's gonna turn 19 next month, which
wow.
is like people
Lot
who don't know cat years. That's
for a
over 90
cat.
years old for a cat.
What is it?
Uh,
7 years
it's
per.
about it's not quite the same as dogs. It's like the first year of a cat's life is the equal to like 7 years or something. That's what they say.
Yeah,
But after it gets past a certain point, yeah, it's like the 7 year thing. But
yeah.
basically, a 19-year-old cat is almost like 90 or over 90. So that's an old man, and he's a sweetheart. He's doing great, but sometimes I just like I want to go out, but I'm like I would really want to enjoy these however many more years I get with him. I want to enjoy
Yeah.
every day, every moment. So sometimes I forego going out to certain things, and I there's times I'll kick myself like you should really go. You gotta like be more social and meet more people. And
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, but I don't know how long he's gonna be here, and I love that little guy. So
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think I don't know. To me, when I'm doing gigs or whatever, it gets to be a real drain. I don't know if it's an emotional drain or psychological or both. I
Hmm.
mean, you're putting so much of yourself out there and you're responding to the information that's coming into you while you're singing.
Yeah.
You're projecting yours out. And when if I do too much of that, I just feel drained. I just feel like somebody, let one of these plastic things, and you just leave all the air out. And I need to. I know I'm sure I'm not the only artist that just needs to recuperate and get that energy back. Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
feel that.
yeah, I listen to you sing, and you put an awful lot of you out there.
I try to put it all out there.
Yeah,
I think the worst thing I can do is get distracted, which is easy to do
yeah,
because I have a lot of songs. I've been doing them for a long time. I can kind of go on autopilot in a way.
right,
It doesn't mean I'm not
right,
playing the
right,
song well. It just means like this is
right.
the thousandth
Yeah,
time I've played the song,
it's just
and
there. Yeah,
sometimes I can catch my mind drifting,
yep.
especially if I'm looking around the room too much.
All right.
And I so there was a time when sorry, I don't have a stand for my phone, so I'm holding it.
Oh no.
Might be moving here and there,
Okay.
so I apologize for that. I remember when I was younger and I was starting to perform a lot with a band I was in, and friends would come see me play, and I always, almost always, I keep my eyes closed when I'm singing. Just just helps me. It
It's a
helps me
no-no.
focus. It helps me focus on my voice
Yeah,
and if I'm doing it right, and it just keeps me from getting distracted
right.
from. So, anyways, my friends were like, "You really got to open your eyes. You got to engage with the crowd." Blah 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 blah. I tried that. I
Yeah,
started finding I would catch eyes with somebody and it would screw me up. I
yeah.
would forget the next chord or whatever. I finally said, you know what? I don't care anymore about this like engage with the crowd thing. Do you want me to play and sing the song well? Then let me do it my way. And that's what you get. I mean, I still look around, but it's just not,
Yeah,
yeah. Um, so I get that. Like,
yeah.
and
When
you
I forget words, that's when it
put a
happens.
lot of your energy out there.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think it is. I think it's a mixture of physical, emotional, and kind of psychological, like your mental.
right.
Um, and that's hard when you do a lot of gigs for me
Mhm,
because I can get to like the fifth gig in a 4 day span on a
right.
real like that's a really busy week. Um, but it's not that I'm not happy to be there, but sometimes I'm just so drained.
Yeah.
It's like, man, how am I even going to do the show and have it be good because I'm so tired? But there's something that happens with like the adrenaline and the
Yeah,
energy is once the music kind of starts
yeah,
and I get going, and as long as they're kind of at least responding a little bit, it's the gigs for me that really drain me that I honestly don't even want to do anymore. I'm kind of over it. Like if I'm just going to be background noise and no one's paying attention and
yeah.
they're not clapping and I'm not getting any engagement, Those
Oh,
gigs for me feel like they like a 2 hour gig will feel like 4 hours.
yeah.
But if people are even just clapping, or sometimes they're putting in requests because they know I try to take requests, those gigs can 2 hours can blink
But
because
yeah,
it's so
exactly.
fun, you know. It's which is weird.
Yeah.
It's
I
weird how the energy can be different.
I had that experience out at Doc's Tap House in Snohomish. Boy,
Hmm.
they were a hard crowd to please, and I had to perform. I think it was Valentine's Day. I filled in for the host, and I had to sing that whole time. There was nobody that came up to sing, and the
Oh
place
wow.
was yeah, not many there, and they have some no response at all. And I was like, oh my god, you know, it
Yeah.
was like what a drag. It seemed like that short period of time lasted forever.
Right.
I did it, yeah.
You know, I
Uh,
noticed though, it's kind of weird. I know everybody's a little different. So I've been in some rooms where there's like not many people, but I can tell like a couple of them are listening, but no one's clapping because there's only like 5 people in the room. And so maybe people get like some kind of social awkwardness where like they don't want to be the only one clapping.
and
I had one where I was playing this place. It was outdoor, but everybody was sitting inside of the bar. They could hear me because the doors were open, but there was like only like 3 people outside. And like a couple were engaging and they were like clapping and stuff, whatever. But that's it. This other guy, this big burly biker dude, bald head like me, big beard, big muscles, leather jacket, standing there with his arms folded like the entire time, and didn't clap once. And then after 2 hours, I get done, and he comes up to me right when I'm leaving with all my gear. And he goes, "Hey man," he like slips me like a $15 or something. He goes, "Hey, you were really good." And
oh
it's
my
like,
gosh. Yeah,
I wouldn't have known that from your reaction,
yeah,
sir, but
exactly.
I appreciate that gesture. So
Absolutely.
maybe he's not a clapper.
Yeah,
I
that's amazing. Yeah, I think,
don't.
yeah, there are surprises like that. Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about the equipment that you use. It's kind of important, I think, to as a solo artist to have the right equipment with you. I mean, obviously you're not in control and they have their own sound system, but what kind of guitar are you playing and what's your favorite guitar? I mean, most of us have more than one. And what kind of equipment do you use in your solos that you would recommend for other people?
I'm a Martin acoustic, so I like Martin guitars.
If you get a
I
good
do.
one, they're beautiful. If you might
They're
get a
great.
bad one,
You honestly could. I don't know what the prices are now, but the one I currently have was more of like an economy model.
yeah.
So it's a solid top, but the back and sides are a high pressure laminate. So it's a
Hmm.
much cheaper instrument for the company to make. So I bought mine back in, well, it's 15 years, 2010. So my guitar's 15 years old now,
Yeah.
and it's starting to sound really good. I get comments on how good it sounds. That was $500 back then. I think you can get them now with electronics. Mine did come with electronics. With electronics, I probably could get one used for 600 or 500 or somewhere in there. I don't know. The guitar I really want that I will buy someday is the basically same model as mine, but all mahogany wood. Like
Mm.
the only wood that's not mahogany on it is the fretboard and the bridge. And that thing now, I remember when I looked at it years ago, it was like $1,100. Now it's
Yeah.
$1,700. So I don't know when I'll buy it. Someday. I almost bought it this year because my guitar had a fall and a crack and its body was splitting.
Mm.
I think it's because of that construction with the laminate. The laminate, the glue is starting to fail in spots, and so
Uh,
I've just had to re-glue it a few times myself. And the first time I used wood glue, which I think was a mistake because gluing a laminate to a piece of wood with wood glue is meant for wood on wood.
yeah.
I know that. I used to be a carpenter, so
Uh,
um, so I used super glue this time, and it seems to be holding. So we'll see.
Super glue. You know what I do sometimes when I don't have calluses, if I haven't played for a while, been sick or something, I put super glue in the tips
On
of
your
my
tip,
finger. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If
Uh,
I ever get like an injury, like
mhm.
something, I keep my fingers too short, my fingernails too short. Um, but every once in a while I cut them a little short. And then the way I play with my steel string guitar, I do all this slapping and nail playing and stuff like that, and finger
Yeah,
picking.
yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll get one of those metal strings right up under the
Ew,
nail.
ow, ow, ow.
Really hurt.
Yes, I
And
know.
also, it's really hard to go play a show like that. So yeah, the
Mm,
super glue comes in very handy. You can
Mandy.
glue your nail down. You can glue yourself a nice little pad. Yeah, good
Yeah,
trick.
yes, it is.
As far as my amp that I use, I started with a little Fishman
Yeah.
Loudbox Mini.
Mhm. Is
They're
that the one where
okay.
you plug your vocals in too?
You can plug your vocal and your guitar into it, and it does sound really good. It's a good little amp. But I will say this much: I went through two of them in 2 years. I
Ooh.
bought one, wasn't with a warranty because I bought it off a guy, and that one crapped out within a year. Bought another one, that one crapped out within a year. I had a warranty, so they were, I shipped it back.
Okay.
They repaired it. It still works now. But I don't know if I would buy another one of those. So that's something just keep in mind if you're thinking about the Loudbox Mini, or if you've looked at the Loudbox Mini. Just know that I don't know if they're really built for the long term, because I put a lot of mileage into my amps. I was carrying them around on little rolly carts, so they were like clunk, clunk, clunk along the street, in and out of cars and stuff like that. But I do the same thing to my now. So a couple years ago, when that thing crapped out, I bought a Fender. So the Fender Acoustic 100, I think it's 100 watt or whatever. It's a Fender Acoustic 100. They're about $400,
Mhm.
worth every penny. They have built-in effects, so multiple effects you can put on your guitar and your vocal. You can put your vocal and your guitar into it. They have, just like the Loudbox Mini, they have a little port in the back you could plug a mic cord into, and you can daisy chain into another amp. So if you need more sound, you can bring another amp along, and you can use your little Fender or your whatever you're using as your like main. So that's where you're going to control your volumes on your guitar, your vocal, and then that will just daisy chain into another amp. So it's very handy with that. If I need extra volume in a bigger room, I can just bring an extra amp. But that little Fender is plenty loud. I played in like some actually decent sized rooms, and I just have to crank it up to like 3/4 volume, and I get a lot of compliments on that amp and how good it sounds, how
Mhm.
full it can sound in a room. So yeah, I use that. I use my Martin guitar. I use a Fishman Rare Earth pickup. Those are really good, a high quality pickup. About $150, I think, nowadays, maybe a little more.
Wait a
And
minute. Are you saying that you don't have an electric acoustic? You have to put the
no, I
in.
mounted a pickup in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
but that you
I
can
used to
actually
do that.
you could you could do it yourself, mounting that pickup, if you were a little handy as far as like with a drill and stuff like that, because you have to make sure you drill the hole in the back of the guitar precise. Um, so you could do it if you're handy. If not, you got to let somebody else do it who knows what they're doing. However, I took mine to Guitar Center forever ago, not knowing Guitar Center does really crappy work on
Yeah,
guitars.
Mike Lowell in Bellevue. They do good work.
Yeah, my one of my friends, I think it was Chris Pontius, when I posted about don't go to Guitar Center, he was like, "Don't ever go there." I was like, "I didn't know." And this funny, this was like 8, 10 years ago. I had paid them $50. The guy installed the thing. He didn't even do it right. So years after years and years, my pickup finally just fell out, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
was able, I'm fairly handy. Like I was a carpenter for years, and my dad taught me how to fix cars and stuff like that. I was a mechanic for a year, so I can kind of fix some stuff. So I was able to repair it myself. But anywho, be aware of that. Yeah, it's a great pickup. Sounds awesome. I get a lot of comments on how good it sounds. I think it's a combination of the guitar and the pickup that makes a guitar sound good, an acoustic guitar at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing is I use a pedal for a little added reverb in my acoustic guitar, so it gets a little sustain, which is really helpful, especially if you're
Right.
doing looping like I do. I do some looping, so that pedal also has a built-in looper. The pedal I use it's an older model. It's called a Zoom, and Zoom G3X is the pedal that I use.
Yeah.
It's not very expensive anymore, very handy, and I haven't thought of replacing it yet. So
Wow.
Yeah.
I have pedals, but I never get to use them. If you're going to jam, you don't have time to set them up and do whatever. So,
Mm.
but I've never gotten a looper. Thought there for a while I might, but I don't think I don't think I could get the beat in there correctly. I don't know. I've never
Takes
really.
practice.
Yeah.
Takes practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you think it takes to get it right?
Took me over a year,
Oh,
but to be fair, I wasn't really practicing with it. You know, I tried it out a couple times and I was like, this thing sucks. And then when I was really, I wasn't forced to, but when I started recording my first single, Lost Girl, about 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago, it was when I started recording solos into my songs, you know.
yeah.
Well, then I was like, well, how am I going to do this solo live? So I started practicing with my looper.
Yeah.
My looper is not forgiving. If you're not right on the beat,
Yeah.
it'll sound off and you have to stop and re-record it. There are some I've heard of these other models that are out there nowadays because there's so much looping now. There's so many different
Yeah.
machines you can get. I've heard some of them are forgiving and they'll fix those split-second mistakes. I don't know.
Wow.
I think it's
AI.
probably
Sounds like AI. That's what AI does.
probably
You know.
AI is a good and a bad thing, I think, because I just heard about a friend yesterday who lost his job because, and he was an artist, because the company he worked for is going to use AI to do their art now. Like, great. That's great. Yeah. Anyways.
I think AI has its place, but when it
Right.
starts replacing people, like now they can create a song for you.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Oh, I'm like, what the hell?
I
After
know.
all the hard work we put in that, and speaking of writing songs, I do want to talk to you about that. But I see we've got a question on, and no, you're on your phone, so you can't see this. But Patrick from Dublin Abbey says, "Hi, Joshua. Patrick
Right.
from Dublin Abbey. I just took a listen. Cool. Win some haunt to your voice on this song I just listened to. Which one did you just listen to, Patrick? Let's see if he'll answer us. Anyway,
Was it the new song? I don't know.
I don't know what's your new song. That
The newest song that I just released is called New Love.
I just listened to that. In fact, I originally put it on the Facebook thing that goes out into the audience on their phone, so everybody sees
Mhm.
it on their phone. And I took it off because I had something wrong on it, and I had to redo it and forgot to put the song back on.
That's
But I
all right.
got to listen to it. I think your name is Joshua Red.
Yep.
Is that you? Okay, I
Mhm.
thought so because you have red hair, or at least
Yeah.
red beard.
I mean, well, it was red here too once upon a time, and it probably still is. I just don't grow it out, you know, because it only grows right there.
Look like a monk. That's
And
a
I feel it makes me look much older than I feel at the moment. So I don't think I'll ever grow that out, you know.
Well,
That's
I
okay.
don't know. This look is in. So he said, hold on, hold on.
Hold,
Yeah.
holding on.
Yeah. Is that your newest one or the
No,
one?
that's off my first EP.
Oh, okay.
That's that EP actually just turned 5 years old this year. Um, so I released my first EP right at the beginning of the pandemic, which
Ah,
sucked because I had a bunch of shows scheduled to go promote the EP, and then they all got canceled. But yeah, that song's off my first EP,
okay.
and I have another EP out that I put out 2 or 3 years ago called geez, what is it called? It's called A Little Bit of Change. So I have two EPs. One is called Lost Girl. The second one is called A Little Bit of Change. The first one has 4 songs. The second one has 7. And then I've released a few singles now. And the last 3 singles that started with Fight the Fear in 2021, I think I released that. And then, anyways, starting over, think I released that last year, 2024, which was a Chris Stapleton cover.
Ah,
And then this song, New Love. These are all going to be on my first full-length album that I'm working on right now. That's hopefully I'll be done by like next summer, I hope.
I gotcha. I
Yeah.
got another comment by Patrick. He said, "I was going to ask about your Beatle influence. Do you have a favorite Beatle album or period?" I think he means. Yeah,
Mm,
period. He
that's a
rewrote
good
it.
question. The Beatles are my favorite band. Favorite album? I guess I would pick Help because that was the first album of theirs I bought with my own money. Like, I think I was like 19 or something. Um, and it's just a good album. Has a lot of great songs. And what I love about sometimes those albums is you know all the hits, right? You know, from the radio or from
Right.
whatever. Um, that album had songs I'd never heard
Yeah.
before that are really good. Like I've Just Seen a Face is a great one. Um, Anywho, so yeah, I
I
love
had
Beatles. I love Help
I
because I
had
love because I really loved that movie as a kid. We used to rent that movie. We have a very big family. It's one of the reasons I use the red because all my siblings have brown hair. I'm the only redhead. Um, but we had a very big family and only one income for a long time till we got older and my mom got a job. So we didn't have a lot of money to go around. So we didn't always get to go to Blockbuster to rent movies, but we could go to a library and check them out and you could get movies.
yes.
Um, and they had the Beatles Help movie. And my parents were like, "Oh, the Beatles are cool. It's kid friendly." And so I used to get to watch that movie like so much because I loved the music and the Beatles were funny and yeah.
Yeah. I had an old bass player. He died, but
I'm
he's
sorry.
a really great guy. But he told me, he said, don't ever overlook the importance of flipping that was back in 45s, when you had that 45 records.
Mm,
Listen to the recording on the other side, because even though it didn't make a hit, a lot of those songs are really good to bring out something new and different, refreshing. And he was right. And people do
hmm.
like them.
It's funny. I saw Billy Joel. I got the pleasure of getting to see Billy Joel play a few years ago in Vegas on his 50th world tour or his 50th anniversary tour. And it was really cool. He would pretty much before almost every song, he would tell a little story about the song. And there
Yeah.
was quite a few of his big hits weren't hits on the radio. They just became like later. So you never know which one's
Yeah.
gonna hit the
Which kind
people.
of hit.
Yeah.
There's another question here from James Crawford Thomas says, do you use Martin strings when you replace your strings on your Martin?
I have almost like religiously used Martin strings. However, lately I think I've been buying they're a very good deal. They're very affordable. You can get like a 3-pack on Amazon for like $18.
Thank God for Amazon.
Um, yeah, until we get stuff that's affordable, I will buy somewhere else. But
Right.
anyways, economics. Yeah, those strings, so I buy the Martin Superior Performance strings, and I do really like them. They're great, but I do feel like they're losing that brightness really fast. Like within the first week, I play them on. I play a lot of shows. So I mean, if I'm playing 3 shows a week, that's 6 hours of playing plus any rehearsing I did.
Yeah.
I don't always try to rehearse on my performance guitar. I have other guitars around the house, but anyway, I feel like they've been losing their brightness a little too fast for me. So I did pick up a couple different kinds of strings that are like coated. So there's these coated ones like elixirs are supposed to be pretty popular. They're supposed to last longer because of this coating. So they're supposed to sound cleaner and brighter and fresh like they're new for longer. We'll see. I just picked them up. I haven't tried them on yet. I tried elixirs like 15 years ago or something. And then I also picked up a pair of the Diodario. I think they're XLs or whatever their brand is of like the coated ones. So we'll see how those go. I think Martin also has like a higher end coated one, so I'm gonna try that as well. I'll see which one I like, but yeah, I love Martin strings on the Martin guitar, but it's gonna be a matter of cost and how good they sound.
All right.
So,
Cost. Always that in the
yeah,
back.
I mean, I'm not like rich.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Exactly.
I am rich in a lot of other ways, but
Right.
financially, I'm good. I'm doing good. You know.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear because some of us aren't. So, When it comes to writing, how did you your latest song again? The name of the song is something with
New
this
love,
new what the
new
new
love.
new love,
Mhm.
new love. Tell us a little bit of how that song came to be and what it's about.
So it's part of this whole album, which is going to be called A Spectrum. And then there might be something in parentheses underneath it. I haven't decided yet. But it's basically about this whole relationship I went through in 2020 to 2021. I fell deeply in love with this person and just fizzled really fast. And it was really hard for me to go through. And I ended up writing. What's funny, so that relationship started very fast. And then it was, anyways. So this songs, they kind of start with like, oh my God, you're like there's a song called The Greatest Gift, where it's like, that's the, the love song. I fell in love with her. Like, you're such a gift I've been given. Then there's a couple other love songs. One's Fight the Fear, which is out. You can listen to Fight the Fear. That one's about like this moment of not panic, but it was like, oh my God, I'm so happy with her. This is so great. Like, oh my God, but what if this ends? That would be
Yeah.
awful. Like, and so that Fight the Fear was all about like, I'll fight the fear of these fearful feelings, and I'll try to keep you in my life and just be happy. Um, Obviously, she's not in my life anymore. So there's a whole spectrum of these songs that goes from, oh my God, I love you so much, I'm so happy, to like, oh my God, I want to die without you.
Yeah.
And then to the kind of the end where it's like, I'm going to be okay. So New Love was one of the last ones I wrote. Actually, no, it was one of the ones I wrote after she broke up with me. And I was feeling like we were still talking. And so I was like kind of hopeful maybe we would be able to work through the issues and like start over. So New Love is all about like, hey, we can rebuild. And it's, I don't know, it could apply to anybody really. It doesn't have to be about love, but it is about, I mean, it is about that. So I talk about that very deeply and how much I love her and how hard I will work to like make things work for us and whatever. So yeah, but it's just about, I'm a new man. We can make this work. We can start over. Our love is strong. So it's about, it's being hopeful, like hopeful that you can rebuild.
Mm.
Yeah.
Love, it's a hard thing. I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's very complicated and yet so simple. It's very
Yeah.
simple, but it's so
Yeah.
complex for being
Yeah.
simple. I don't know how to explain
Yeah.
that, but it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
your
that song
emotion.
pretty much wrote itself. Like the guitar riff came out. I was about to go on a walk or something, and I grab up the guitar and I just, it just came out. And it's a really simple like 3 chord rhythm
Mhm.
verse part, and then the chorus is like literally 2 chords back and forth. It's very
Yeah.
simple. A lot of my songs are very basic as far as like the structure. I'm not a real complicated songwriter, but like with the instrument. But I don't think you need to. I mean, some of the best songs are simple. You don't need to be fancy. Uh, and then it just kind of progressed from there. I think I was on the ferry ride actually out to a gig in Bremerton when I was like coming up with the lyrics. And that was again just so I don't, my songwriting is very spontaneous, and I go sometimes years without writing anything, because I just let it come out when it comes out.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that I have to be a little more diligent with sitting down with my guitar and going through my songbooks and trying to finish songs that aren't finished and just putting in a little bit of time and effort sitting there with it. Otherwise, I won't write anything.
Yeah.
Because ever since I noticed, ever since I started gigging so much, and then with any rehearsing as well with my group, because I do have some band members now that I play with a few times a year. We try to put some shows together, but they have their other projects too, so it's a lot of coordinating. But what was I saying with that?
Just
Anywho, just a
spending
lot.
the time. You're
Yeah,
talking.
so the
Yeah.
songwriting just comes when it comes. I'm trying to do a little more work on my end about like, hey, maybe you could. I'm trying to get back to my roots a little bit. So my roots of what I would talk, I guess what I'm referring to is, I used to just, I mean, even when I was gigging here and there with bands, a lot of my stuff was like either writing my own stuff in my room, working on that. And a lot of that would come from inspiration from learning a new song from somebody else. Like I learned I was learning an Audio Slave song years ago, which was a band Chris Cornell sang with. It was the guys from Rage Against the Machine and then this singer from Soundgarden, and they did a band. And Chris Cornell is one of my favorite vocalists, songwriter. He's amazing. Um, so I was learning one of their songs, and it had a really interesting like A minor chord that wasn't like a typical A minor chord, right? It was like a really open chord where you only push like two strings. Really cool sounding. It's like the opening song on "I Am the Highway" by Audio Slave, if you were curious. And so learning that chord, I was like, oh, this would sound really good with like maybe an F major 7. And I did that change and I was like, ooh, it's like hypnotic, like just going back and forth between those two. And so that's how I ended up writing a song of mine called Bad Weather, which will probably go on my next album. But anyway, so sometimes it's just like a little inspiration for like on the guitar, like, ooh, that's a cool chord. What would that go good with, you know? And then I usually just like everything just comes out. So I don't I admire and have respect for people who are like career songwriters who like get up every day in Nashville or whatever and they go to the studio and like, all right, we're writing songs. Like hats off to you, but that's not how I ever really want to write songs. I don't want to like intentionally go, I'm gonna write a song today. You know, I want it to be like whatever, I'm going through something, I need to write it down. And then maybe later I'm writing something on the guitar and I'm like, oh, this is good. I need lyrics for this. Oh, here's these lyrics. And then like my song I wrote, Pain Measurement, that's how that song came together. I had written the lyrics on a hard day where I was actually kind of just asking questions of writing something down. I was writing, how do you measure pain?
Yeah.
Is it in the tears we cry? Is it how long it takes to let go? What about the love you leave behind? Whatever. So I had those, it wasn't really lyrics. It was really more just like thoughts because there wasn't a lot of rhyming going on. I don't always write intentionally. This is going to be a song, you know, I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
getting things out. And then, so it was like, I don't know, a year later, 6 months later, I was practicing and I came up with a little riff. And then I was like, this is good. I happened to grab those lyrics and they just came together. Like the song wrote itself in like 10 minutes. So I don't know, you know, that's how
And
I,
yeah, I get it. I have those moments too. We do have another question about what's your favorite type of mic?
Mike. I'm not very well versed in mics. I've seen some those, you know, those fancy ones that are like, you sing into them like this and they're like a big, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Those big silver ones or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, I, I use a Shure,
Yeah.
SM58 beta,
Yeah.
which are the better, you know, higher ends of this SM58s. The 58's one of the most common gigging microphones. The reason I bought that microphone is because when I was working with a band, and I was working with an older bro, and he knew a lot about music and stuff. And he just was like, "Hey, man, buy yourself one of these. They're about $100. Like they're almost bulletproof,
Yeah.
and they sound good." And I was like, "Okay, I can afford $100 for a mic, you know." So and then my buddy showed up to practice one day, and he bought himself a Beta 58, and I could hear the difference just
Yeah.
right away. It was like so clear. The mic was so sensitive. You don't have to turn it up as high. I like that mic. They're not crazy expensive. I think they're about 150, $160 maybe, and worth every penny. And mine I've had for years. I throw it in a backpack all the time, and I'm in and out of cars and bars and restaurants, and that that mic is still in perfect shape. So yeah.
Yeah. I hope that answers it, James. So, where is I going? We only have about 15 minutes left. Can you believe that?
Yeah, time
Okay.
goes.
Jeez. So, what are some of the gigs that you have on your, and how can we find them? How can we? I know a lot of your music is posted on YouTube and other. I'm
Yeah,
assuming other streaming
all
platforms.
the streaming places. I
Who do
post
you
on my
post it?
website. My website has a calendar that will have all my gigs.
Oh,
I
what?
try
How to get to it?
utechmusic.com. So my last name and then music, utechmusic.com. there's a calendar there. I try to keep it up to date at least
Yeah.
a month ahead, but I really need to update it and put it out through the summer because I'm getting full. At least my weekends are getting full further out than before, which is a great blessing. I'm very grateful for the success I'm having. And yeah, and I try to I'm always trying to post on my Instagram and Facebook. If I'm not making an event, I always try to at least that week, like, hey, I'm playing here, and then just keep sharing it.
Have you been
But
putting on Mature Musicians website?
I've tried to share there a couple times and it didn't give me the option, so I don't know how that sharing tool works. You know what I mean? Because it'll say, "Oh, share these groups you're in," and Mature Musicians won't pop up, and I'm like, I'm in that group. I don't know why. It's the same thing. Like it'll only let me share to like 2 groups at a time or something, and I never know which one to share. So they took, oh, musicians seeking musicians. Well, don't share it there. Maybe. How about Seattle musician? I don't know.
Okay. We have James asked you where you're from. James Crawford Toma is the person talking here. Where are you from is his question.
Originally, I'm from Bellevue, Washington. That's where I grew up and lived for many, many years. Now I'm up in Everett, Washington. It's about 45 minutes away from there. Yeah. So I'm here, Washington State native. I do hope to travel a lot doing music, and I'm hoping to, in a few years, do a year abroad in the UK. And the company I work for has jobs.
I hope you get there. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, I want to live there for like a year and
that
work.
Sounds like
The company I work part-time for has jobs in the UK. So I was like, okay, well, I could get a job there and I could experience another place and try to do music there while I'm there. And then we'll see. I don't know, maybe eventually move there. I don't know. I like the idea of a country that has universal health care. I think that's something that this country really needs to work on, man, because they keep saying we can't do it. And that's a total load of crap. Like the corporations and the pharmaceutical industry, they're just too greedy. That's why. And we just need more compassion. We need more people who have compassion and empathy for their fellow human, that we provide those things. I saw a really funny little clip video, and it was about that show Breaking Bad. Do you know that show?
No, I didn't watch that one.
Okay, well, the basic premise was the guy had cancer and he couldn't afford to fix it. So he was a chemistry teacher. So he ends up making methamphetamine because he knows how to make it, because he was a chemist. And that's how he's going to fund his cancer, paying for all his cancer stuff. In turn, he turns into a kingpin, but that's besides the case. But it's funny is someone did a little clip based on that show, and it was Breaking Bad, the UK version. And it was like, oh, Mr. White, I see you have cancer, but don't worry, it's not going to cost you a penny. We're going to get you all taken care of. And then it was like, boom, end of the show. And I just, it's like, that's something we need to work on.
Yeah,
really do. But Washington will always be home. I have lots of family here, my brothers and sisters and my parents, and so I'm not leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, I hope that answers it, James. So in the last few minutes, so we know you've got kind of outlined what a 5-year plan is. A little bit about how we can get to your music, and I can just type in Joshua Uttech or Uttech Music.
Uttech.
Your best. Sorry, I don't know how you got a name change there. I don't know how that happened.
Joshua Red, and then you will usually bring me up, and just look for the bald guy and the red beard. But yeah, Joshua Red, Uttech, uttechmusic.com. There's the only searches I've seen that come up that are a little bit similar to mine is when you're first putting in Joshua Red. There's a popular artist named Joshua Redman, and I think he's like a saxophone player or something. And he's bald. He's bald as well. But he, he pops up. But yeah, Joshua Red U will usually bring me up.
Last night I was out, just off the subject, but last night I was out to a new jam in Carnation. I run by
How
Doug,
was
yeah,
that?
Doug Greer, oh, it was great. The place was packed, and it was just
Oh,
great music. But there's this doctor, he's a chiropractor, and he's got a bald head except for a strip down the center that sticks straight up. How he does that, I don't know. And he's a punk rocker, and
oh, they got Mohawk.
yeah, what an interesting type he was.
That's funny.
Can you imagine? I can't even imagine that. But here's an interesting character.
Yeah.
And he did some original songs too. But anyway, we get off
Oh,
the point.
cool.
We were just talking about being bald, and I I was thinking of that dude. I was thinking,
Yeah.
well, how did you do that? How do you sleep at night? That mohawk or whatever it is. Anyway.
Oh, it goes flat, and then they have to like fix it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had a
They
buddy in
use
high
super
school.
glue?
My drummer in high school had a Mohawk,
Hey, really?
and it was a yeah. He had to constantly do the
Look at that.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. It's a
well,
I like that's why I kind of like this. It's very low maintenance. I had like get a
yeah.
razor and I shave my head like 2-3 times a week, and I'm good to go. Takes about 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes of my whole week is just shaving my head. Done.
We have another person here. They're not asking a question, but uh, Shirley Driggers just asks how we are. It's, she says, "Hi, beautiful." I don't know if she's talking to you, Josh, or not.
I think she's talking to you.
Thank you. Oh, anyway,
I
so
feel like I'm looking a little rough today.
I wish you could have played. I wish I could have heard some of your music today. We were,
Next time for sure. Next time.
yeah, we were talking about putting it on my board so we could bring it up while we're talking, and on his phone he doesn't have that. He's still apparently at work, right? You're not home yet, right?
No, I still have to go catch the express bus back to Everett to my car at the parking ride.
Yeah. Oh, good grief. This time has gone so fast. We've got like 9 minutes left, if that.
Right. That's what goes when you're having a good time, right?
Yeah.
Not like
How do you, last question, I guess, maybe not. We'll see. How do you get all these gigs? I mean, is it because you're that good? I mean, I know you are. I've heard you. but how is it that you get all these gigs at 14 a month? I mean, that's a lot of gigs.
well, a lot of them are regular return places that I've been playing for a while. Um, I think it's different for everybody. So I know a guy, he's doing what I'm doing. He's being successful as well. And he played one of the places I play. And we were, because I got this because we ran into each other. So we were able to talk a little bit. And it was great to be able to talk to another musician who's doing what I'm doing and like
Right.
bounce each other. And he was like, yeah, those guys didn't bring me back. They said I didn't bring enough people. And I was like, well, that's weird
Yeah.
because like I play there and I don't bring anybody. I brought maybe 2 people one time, but they have like a clientele, the people that go there to eat and drink. I
Mhm.
figured that so I don't know if it was just the owner didn't like his style, didn't like the way he played, sing. I don't know.
Mhm.
That guy,
Probably has something to do with it.
I think it's a preference thing because not every bar has hired me back. I had one that was gonna hire me and then actually met them in person. And then was like thinking this was gonna go through and I kept emailing them back and I never heard back from them. So I was just like, meh.
Yeah.
Sometimes you never know your email. I'll go back to what your original question was.
Mhm.
I canvas a lot of places. I
Ah,
don't go out on foot because, like I said, I was limited, mobily limited for so long. So I just email. You can even message their Facebook account, Instagram account. Though I feel like that is a little less. Well, I don't know. It doesn't matter anymore these days, I guess. But like, I always try to just email. So if I see like you played this place that has live music open mic, I don't know if they have just an open mic or if they do music on other nights. So sometimes I'll just screenshot that place that my friend played and then I'll look them up, try to find their email, and I send them an email. And then I just have a blanket, you know, like model email that has all my
yeah.
information, has links to my stuff in
Sort
it.
of a one sheet. Yeah. They
Yeah,
call
so
it
I
one
could
sheet.
just copy paste that in and it's real quick. That way I can hammer out like 10, 15, 20 emails to all these different places really quickly. Um, and then it's kind of just getting your foot in a door because
Yeah.
there's lots of places around that I'm sure I could get in. but right now they already have. I've talked to a few of them. They're like, well, we already have a big group of musicians we're using, so we're not looking for more. And I'm like, okay, that's great. Well, if you want to put my name on your list in case you need someone to cover, whatever. And that can happen too. I finally got my foot in the door at this one place because my friend is on maternity leave and I was able to cover one of her gigs. Another one is now one of my about once a month gig. And I only got in there because my friend asked me to cover for her because she couldn't make her that night. So I've actually got some good, colleagues, music colleagues now around the area that we know each other. We, enough to know that I would vouch for her to play there or who, and she'll vouch for me to play there and cover her shifts, knowing that, which is great, that I feel very fortunate to know that they believe in me enough to think, hey, I can't make it tonight, but I've got a great guy who can come play. And that's gotten me a couple great gigs. This one in the Oxford Saloon in Snohomish.
Larry Walker.
So Larry books me about once a month now, which is really cool. And because Larry, when I initially met Larry, I gave him my card because my friends were like, you should hire him. And he's like, well, I want to hear you play. And so he's like, you should come to the open mic. And I'm like I said, I'm so busy. I'm like, I don't want to go to an open mic when it's my one night off, like.
That's how it works.
Also, I don't want to get so big in the head thinking I don't need to audition. Like that's not what I'm saying. It's just like having the time and the energy, Well, but I got luck of the draw. My friend couldn't make her gig, and so I got to cover for her. And then Larry liked what he had heard about me, so he's hiring me now. I would say just be persistent, email everybody, try to make a good professional look for yourself, like make a website, put good quality photos on it, get your music up on there, get yourself on through a distributor, get your music on Spotify. This is how I started. If you haven't got there yet, I'll just real quick 5-pointer or something. Record at least one professional sounding song. There's my finger, one song. Make a website. Get some good quality photos, some professional looking photos. You can go on Bandzoogle. There's tons of places to build sites now, but Bandzoogle's specifically for bands and artists. They have really easy templates to work with. It can look very professional. A great way to see if it looks kind of professional is you can actually Google now and go to some of your favorite bands' websites and just see what their website looks like. And then, so you try to present yourself as professional as you can. Make sure you have a good quality product. Make sure you're practiced and polished when you show up to play. Try not to play stuff that's going to be not as good, especially when you're first there. Your really biggest thing is just get your foot in the door and then show them what you can do. And then I just leave it up to God, universe, whatever you want to call it, because I can only control so much. So whether they hire me back or not, whether they like what I did or not, there's also a good thing to do is ask questions when you get to the gig. Hey, what kind of vibe do you want? Like I forgot to ask this in the past, and now I know when I've done some private gigs, what's the dress code? I got hired for a professional private gig at this lady's house. She made it sound in the emails like it was going to be a dock, like on the dock, we're going to be throwing a party. So I thought, like, cool, man, we're going to rock out. We're going to be drinking booze. Like, it's going to be a party. I get there. It was a bachelorette party. There was nothing but these gorgeous women in their cocktail dresses. And I showed up in my baseball hat and Billy Joel t-shirt. And I was like, oh. And it was a nice house, like on Lake Stevens. And it was just like, oh, man, I should have worn I could have been fine in what I was wearing if I just had like a collared shirt, And so, anyways, ask questions.
How did that go? How did they?
It went great. It went great. I even said to the girl, I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry I didn't bring a nicer shirt." She's like, "No, you look great." And I was like, "All right, just put yourself out there. Do your best to try to look professional. Practice, practice, practice. Polish, polish, polish. I think you can start to hear it in yourself too. At least I did. Like years ago, I could start to hear like, "Hey, I think I'm sounding better than I was." And then it never hurts if you do get some videos of yourself to go back and listen. How did I sound? But yeah, just be persistent.
With all of that, I do that.
So. Email people like crazy, cold calls. Go to open mics, that can help too.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, he said, "I'll have Dublin Abbey knows that we're about to close here. We got 1 minute. And he says, thanks, Joshua. Thanks, Joy. You're welcome, Patrick. Nice to
You're
hear
welcome.
your voice. And I'm glad you tuned in. So I guess with that, it's probably a closer. We've got
Yeah.
one last thought, maybe anything else that you can think of before we leave, besides listening to
check
your songs and
check out my
coming to see
music.
you.
Support independent artists by streaming their music, clicking like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. A lot of us are just doing this all on our own. We're managing it ourselves. We're booking everything ourselves. So we really could use the help in the algorithms. If you just follow, pre-save their songs, even if you don't listen to it, just do that.
Amen. Thanks, Joshua, for coming.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Joy.
it. Always good talking
Appreciate
to you.
you.
And
Keep doing
anytime
what
you
you're
want to
doing.
come back, pardon?
Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you.
Thank you. You have a good rest of your week.
All right.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Take care. Bye, everybody. Now, let's see how we go here.